this part of the reading that James sent stood out for me. I know Vicky read it, but when I read it this morning in my room, I was like, yep, this is it right here. You are ready for love, and this is the moment you can claim your birthright. Exactly what we were experiencing yesterday, right? You are ready for love, and this is the moment you can claim your birthright. The world you perceive holds none of the promise that is being promised to you now. Heaven is yours if you're willing to claim it. So the question is, my favorite question. Everybody here's laughing, by the way, Zoom. My Zoom friends, mucho amor to you. Mucho amor to you. So the question is, are you ready? I love it. We have a beautiful soul back there. She's just, yes, absolutely, and yes. Well, are you really ready? I remind you of when the hard stuff comes up. When the shit hits the fan. Are you ready? Now everybody, nobody's putting their hands up. We gotta laugh. You know, that is it right there. It's like, let's make it light because it is kind of funny what we do. We're ready. We're not ready. There's a song by Shakira and Alejandro Sanz that goes, te lo agradezco, pero no. La 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 la, pero no. It's like, I'm ready, but not really. So what this is a reminder of, yes, our birthright is happiness. Vicky, you're so happy that you forgot the word happy because you're living it, right? It's like, if you want and are willing for that happiness, again, and we've been going it over all week, and we're going to keep on talking about it. We're going to keep on hitting our heads in the head about it because we forget that uncompromising nature of when things are rough, to really have that willingness to want to see it differently. I'm going to expose something today because I just love exposing my personal life. It's like a novella, and it's great because I get to use it for mind training and healing, and then everybody gets to identify, right? Because we all have our individual stories of what's going on. This particular one I haven't fully talked about yet to community or to my community, but it was coming up this morning, and I was almost moved to tears while Vicky was sharing, and I was thinking about it because I think this is a perfect example of what being uncompromising is like. Okay, so my dear husband Christian, which I was thinking I might have him on maybe one of these days here so he can do a little guest appearance. He went on an ayahuasca adventure a few months ago in June, and he every year he goes on a month trip. He picks different places to go, and this particular month he went on an ayahuasca trip. And just so you know my background, and I know most of you have already talked about it, but I come from a background of codependency, looking for love outside of myself, abandonment issues because my father committed suicide when I was 3 months old. So in my relationships, I'm always either trying to convince someone to love me, or I am worried if they're with me that they're going to leave me. So that was my whole narrative for so many years. And when I came into my relationship with Christian, and we've been together 7 years now, we have a small little cookie, we call him, Ari, 6 years old. I had to work through a lot of that, especially at the beginning, because he is 15 years older than me. He's 25 at the time. He was so confused. He wasn't sure. He was doubting. And it wasn't personal about me. It was about him. And I get it now. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I would be terrified too. Coming from another country, younger, still growing up. I'm pregnant. It's like, of course he has every right to be scared. we got over that, and I was able to heal out a lot of my abandonment issues through his questioning about his decision to start a life with me and that journey with me and having a child. But recently, you know when you think you've healed something, but not really? I know, everybody's laughing here. I'm sure you assume too, right? Like, I think I got that one. Yeah, I definitely have that one. I've meditated on it, went to Holy Spirit, this is over. Not so much sometimes, right? So he went to the ayahuasca trip. I always feel very confident when he goes on his trips. I think that love is allowing people to be free. And I am happy because he's happy. That's what love is. It's like you want the person to be where they are. That's what love is. So, oh my gosh. Holy moly. All right. So a lot of things happened. One of them was that some boundaries were crossed on that trip, enough to scare the heck out of me. So everything came up when I got the news. What happened? Feeling it, like I say, and let yourself be. I had the dark night of the soul. I cried. All my insecurities came up. I was thinking about the future, our marriage being over, what that looked like. It was just all ego driven. And that's what I'm talking about, our individual stories. We need to go there. We don't need to spiritual bypass that. I was sobbing. I was crying so much so that I didn't sleep all night. I woke up opened the door. My son was sleeping. We're going to go to summer camp. And he looks at me, and you guys are going to laugh because it is funny. He says, I was crying. He says, Mom, did you hit your face with the door? Because I was in tears. Mom, did you hit your face in the door? And I was like, no, sweetheart, but I need you to be strong. I'm going to take you to summer camp. Mommy's processing something. I love that we can laugh about it now because it was not funny at the time. So what happened? What happened? One of the biggest things to end our suffering, I'll give it to you right now. One of the biggest things that stops suffering in its tracks is really questioning what you're thinking and believing in the moment with spirit. Like really going down to questioning it. I was resistant to that because my ego wanted to suffer. So I didn't want to go and question it. I didn't want to talk to Holy Spirit. I wanted to leave. I wanted to get away. I wanted to write that text and say it's over. This is what we do. This is even why relationships end early when they don't need to end. Because people just get upset, take it personal, and leave. That would have been me. That would have totally been me because of my past. My defenselessness, my safety lies, right? No, I wanted to defend at this point. What happens is I become uncompromising. What does that look like? Big fat willingness to want to see it differently, which is what Vicky was talking about. Change my perception. How can I see this differently? So I went to Spirit and I questioned my thoughts and I realized a lot of things. One of them, it's not personal. And second is I understand Christian's innocence. I understand who he really is. And he's not wrong. He's not right. It was a choice. It's not personal. I began to let go of my judgments about it enough. He decided to come home 3 weeks early. He was only there a week for that experience. He came home earlier. And that was my time to get my cabecita, right? To get my head straight before he came. That was my job. So what do? I question. I talk to mentors that I know can remember me of my truth. Because something big is on the line here. Old stuff is on the line here. More than a divorce, it goes beyond that. This is where I get to learn and heal my abandonment issues. This is where that happens. So I was able to wake up by that questioning. I was able to let go of the victimization, and I was able to understand that my brother's innocent. It doesn't mean that it's okay, but it does mean that I'm not going to personalize it. I'm not going to be a victim, and let's see what happens there if I play there. He comes, and I have one of the most incredible conversations I've ever had with anyone in my whole life. There was so much innocence there. I got to really see him. I got to let him off the hook. But most importantly, I got to really love. He even was so appreciative. He's like, wow. And I said, and this is how you make this right. It's a very personal moment of where he was man enough in the dual world, man enough to make things right in that moment. If you want to make this right, this is what I need. Okay? Love moves. Love asks things sometimes. He demonstrated to me in that moment his willingness to want to stay in the marriage, for things to change. And it was one of the most incredible experiences of my life, because I was able to awaken to what was true and let go of the illusion of the ego, which was to run. And in that moment, that was what the Course calls forgiveness. From terror, pure abandonment, to freedom, love, acceptance, innocence is everything. And that's available to all of us in every single moment. That's why I go back to, are you willing, when those big moments come up, to be that uncompromising? You think it was easy for me to get to where I got? Absolutely not. But so worth it. So in closing, the reason I share that story is because for me, it was, I've heard what love is. You know, I've felt what love is. I've felt connection with people. But I think that was what the love of our Father is at max capacity, when I was able to let go of that personalizing it and that victimization within the situation. In conclusion, we had an incredible experience, and I'm so happy that call it the ayahuasca bombshell happened because we're able to transform our relationship which needed transformation. It was a wake-up call for both of us. I always say you never know what you're being saved from. Right? So what this did was bring us closer together. What this did is make me see things that I was responsible for in the marriage that I needed to own. So I'm grateful for that experience. And I'm happy to be able to share it with you as a demonstration of when the stuff hits the fan, you can see it another way. Thank you, everyone.